They said love healed, but for Olivia X, love had only taught her how to bleed beautifully. She once kissed the Mafia Boss of Seoul to make her ex jealous and ended up rewriting destiny itself. But even destiny can be cruel, because every fairy tale demands a price. And tonight, love was about to test its last promise.
Welcome to Mafia Love Story, where passion meets the power. If you crave steamy romance mixed with intense crime thriller drama, you're in the right place. Ready to get hooked on your next obsession? Don't forget to like this story, subscribe for the next chapter, and tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get dangerous.
Love built in the shadows never survives the light for long, and sometimes the heart is the most dangerous battlefield. Taehyung and Olivia had survived the storm once, blood, bullets, and betrayal. But peace is a fragile thing in the world of men who wear crowns made of sin. Today was supposed to be a celebration, Taehyung's birthday. Instead, it would become the day that love was tested and temptation was born. Olivia arrived at Taehyung's mansion carrying a small box, a gift she'd saved up for weeks to buy. The guards bowed, and she walked into the grand marble hallway that still intimidated her, no matter how many times she'd been there. She smiled faintly, whispering to herself, "He'll be so surprised." But as she approached his office, the sound of laughter echoed through the glass corridor. Feminine. Familiar. Her steps froze when she saw her. Through the tinted glass, Taehyung's ex, Bae Rona, was standing close to him, her hand on his chest, her lips curved in a way that made Olivia's stomach twist. Then came the moment. Rona leaned forward, her face inches from his. It wasn't a kiss, but it was close enough to break Olivia's heart. Tears burned behind her eyes as she whispered, "Of course, perfect people always find their way back to each other." She dropped the box. The sound of it hitting the floor was soft, but inside her, something shattered loudly. Rain started to fall, light, misty, the kind that carried sadness with it. Olivia walked without knowing where she was going, her mind spinning with anger, heartbreak, and disbelief. She reached the intersection. The red light blinked, but she didn't see it. A car screeched to a halt inches away from her. She gasped, frozen in the glow of the headlights. The driver's door burst open. A tall man in a navy suit ran toward her, his voice rich, panicked, and strangely commanding. The kind of man who didn't walk. He arrived. "Are you okay? Hey, look at me. Are you hurt?" said Byeon Woo Suk. He knelt before her, his eyes locking onto hers, dark, magnetic, filled with concern. His jawline was sharp, his hair perfectly styled, his voice gentle yet powerful. He smelled of expensive cologne and authority. Olivia stammered, I'm fine." "No, you're not. You almost got yourself killed," he said softly. He helped her up, one hand steady on her waist, strong, warm, protective. He insisted she sit inside his car, a sleek black Genesis with tinted windows and leather seats that smelled like wealth. As they drove, Olivia stared out the window, tears streaming silently. Byeon Woo Suk glanced at her through the mirror. "Whoever made you cry like that must be an idiot." She looked at him, surprised. "You don't even know me." Woo Suk smirking, "I don't need to. I can tell when someone's been hurt by someone who didn't deserve them." The words hit deep. The air in the car thickened, heavy with unspoken emotions. When they reached the hospital, he refused to leave her side. He waited, hands in pockets, watching her like a man studying a storm he couldn't look away from. Days passed. Woo Suk sent her flowers. Nothing flashy, just elegant white tulips with a card that read, "For someone who deserves peace." She tried not to think of him, but he found her again, at the cafe where she worked part-time. His smile was magnetic, the kind of smile that could make a woman forget her heartbreak for a second. "If I order 10 coffees, will you finally agree to have lunch with me?" Woo Suk said, putting on a puppy face. Olivia, laughing. "You don't take no for an answer, do you?" "Not when I've seen something I don't want to lose," replied Woo Suk. The tension between them grew. Every time he looked at her, it felt like fire meeting gasoline. After one late evening dinner, Woo Suk walked her home. The air was cold, their breaths visible in the dim light. She tripped slightly, and his hand caught her waist. Again. She looked up. Their eyes met. He leaned in, slow, deliberate. Her breath hitched, but she stepped back. "I can't. I'm not ready," said Olivia. Woo Suk with a sad smile. "Then I'll wait." Taehyung finally came for her. Guilt in his eyes, his voice trembling with regret. He showed up at her door one night. "You've been avoiding me," he said, voice low. "You've been busy," she replied coldly. "What you saw that day? I saw enough," she snapped. "Bae Rona means nothing," he said. "She came to see me, Olivia. I didn't invite her. I pushed her away." Silence. Strong, choking silence. "Then, you think I'd betray you? After everything we survived?" he asked. "I don't know what to think anymore," she whispered. He stepped closer, his breath against her skin. His hand brushed her cheek, the same way it did the night she thought he'd die. Her pulse raced, the world tilted, and before she could stop herself, she kissed him. But even as his lips met hers, a shadow crossed her mind. Woo Suk's smile, his warmth, his promise of peace. She pulled away. "I can't. Not like this." Taehyung's eyes darkened. "Then tell me you don't love me." Her silence was his answer, but the trust had already cracked, and cracks never stay small. Meanwhile, Woo Suk's world began to intertwine with hers. He took her to events, introduced her to luxury, made her laugh again. He made her feel seen in a way Taehyung never had time to. They were in Woo Suk's office late one night. She had brought him coffee after he'd helped her with a legal issue involving her visa. He was tired, sitting close, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. He looked at her with quiet intensity. "You make me want to be a better man, Olivia." He leaned in again, their lips barely an inch apart. Her heart raced. But again, she turned away. "You shouldn't," Olivia said. Woo Suk whispered, "But I already did." Meanwhile, Bae Rona was not done. She wanted Taehyung back, not for love, but for power. She'd made a deal with the man from Woo Suk's corporate board who secretly wanted Taehyung's company destroyed. A trap was set. A business merger between Woo Suk's company and Taehyung's underworld holdings. Olivia found out accidentally, overhearing Woo Suk on the phone. "You said you weren't involved in anything illegal," she said, trembling. "I'm not," Woo Suk replied quickly. "But the people above me, they have other plans." "So I was part of the plan too?" she asked, her voice breaking. "No," he said. "You were the only real thing in this mess." His words were like electric, but she held herself and tried to keep calm. Few days later, she visited Taehyung. The weather was heavy, clouds pregnant. Rain started to pour. It always rained when choices became dangerous. Olivia had argued with Taehyung. His jealousy, his pride, his distance, all of it had become too much. She stormed out, tears mixing with rain. Woo Suk found her outside waiting in his car, as if fate had drawn him there. He stepped out, umbrella in hand. "He doesn't deserve you, Olivia,"
Let me show you what love feels like."
The words were warm, his eyes desperate. And this time, she didn't step back. Their lips met, soft at first, then deep, hungry, forbidden. Her hands trembled. His touch was fire. And then, lightning flashed. A black car was parked nearby. Inside, Taehyung watched, expression unreadable, heartbreak bleeding into rage. The next day was chaos. Taehyung confronted her, his voice breaking under the weight of pain and disbelief. He asked her the question no man ever wants to ask, if she loved another. Her silence spoke first, then the words slipped out like a confession she didn't mean to make. She didn't know anymore. Too much had been broken, too much left unsaid. Later that evening, Woo Suk appeared at the mansion, calm, composed, but with fire in his eyes. He stood across from Taehyung, two powerful men separated by one woman's heart. The air between them was thick with pride, jealousy, and unspoken challenge. Woo Suk's gaze was steady, as if daring Taehyung to see what he had failed to protect. In Taehyung's eyes, cold and unreadable, burned with the fury of a man who was losing everything he never thought he'd have to fight for. It wasn't a fight of fists. It was one of stares, of silence, of emotions that screamed louder than words ever could. Olivia stood between them, torn, between the man who once made her feel alive in the fire of chaos, and the man who made her feel safe in the calm of desire. Who should Olivia choose? The man who gave her chaos, or the man who offered her peace? Comment below. Tell us, who does her heart belong to?